And of course, we've got lawyers. We'll speak to all of them. But first, let's try and understand who are Pasmanda Muslims or the Deshaj Muslims. Why do they matter so much? And will they be a game changer for the 2024 elections? The Pasmanda is a Persian word that means the ones who are left behind. So the pichhda among Muslims. The term Pasmanda Muslims was first used in 1998 by Ali Anwar Ansari when he founded the Pasmanda Muslim Mahaz. The Pasmanda group has Dalit, backward, tribal groups in it like Julahe, the Ansari, Kasai, the Qureshis, Dhunia, the Mansuri, Fakir, the Alvis, Hajjam, the Salmani, and so on. Why do they matter? Pasmandas are estimated to make up to 80 to 85% of India's Muslims versus 15% Ashrafs. The number broadly tallies with the 1871 census that said only 19% of Muslims in India were upper caste, whereas 81% were made up of the lower castes. Around 103 Lok Sabha seats where Muslim voters influenced the poll outcome. And why it's been unfair representation? Because of the 7,500 elected representatives from the 1st to the 14th Lok Sabha, 400 were Muslims. But 340 of these 400 are from the Ashraf or the upper castes among Muslims. Only 60 Muslims over the 1st to the 14th Lok Sabha were from the Pasmanda background, who have been elected in 14 Lok Sabhas. While Ashrafs would have about 2.1% share in the country's population, their representation in Lok Sabha was around 4.5%. On the other hand, the Pasmanda's share in population was around 11.4% and they just had a mere 0.8% representation in parliament. Now, where are their spread? 103 Lok Sabha seats with Muslim population over 20%. Uttar Pradesh, 35 seats. West Bengal, 20 seats. Assam, 9 seats. Bihar, 9 seats. Kerala, 9 seats. Jammu and Kashmir, 6 seats. There you go. Bihar, Jammu and Kashmir, Kerala. That's Jammu and Kashmir. Maharashtra, 5 seats. Telangana, 2 seats. Karnataka, 2 seats. Haryana, 1. Madhya Pradesh, 1. Jharkhand, 1. Uttarakhand, 1. Delhi, 1. Lakshadweep, 1. This is the entire breakup of where their distribution is. But there is a history to this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go across to our guests. I have Ambar Zaidi, Fayaz Ahmed, Dr. Zeenat Shaukat Ali, and Amna Begum Ansari joining us. Namaste, Jai Hind, and Eid Mubarak to all of you.
Jai Hind.
Let me start.
धन्यवाद.
Let me start with Fayaz, because आपने इस पर बहुत लिखा है और कहा भी है. ये देशज मुस्लिम्स, कुछ लोगों ने पहले भी मेरे से इसकी बात की थी, लेकिन सबसे ज़्यादा इसके बारे में लिखने वाले और कॉइनेज आपका है फयाज. तो मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ, हिस्ट्री क्या है? जब मुस्लिम कॉन्फ्रेंस की आपने जिक्र किया था हिस्ट्री में, आज से 100 साल पहले की बात है, करीब 100 साल पहले, तब भी पचमंदा मुस्लिम्स को वो आवाज़ नहीं दी गई उस कॉन्फ्रेंस में. सो इट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम देयर और तब से लेकर अब तक वही हाल है.
बिल्कुल सही कहा आपने. मुस्लिम कॉन्फ्रेंस, आप जानते हैं, आज़ादी से पहले एक कॉन्फ्रेंस बनाई गई थी कि जितने भी मुस्लिम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हैं उनको एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे लाके और संयुक्त रूप से उसकी लड़ाई लड़ी जाए. उसमें जो प्रथम पसमानदा आंदोलन था जिसके जनक आसिम बिहारी थे, आसिम बिहारी और भैया जी रशीदुद्दीन जो जमीयतुल कुरैश के सदर थे, जो बूचर्स कम्युनिटी होती है, कसाई कम्युनिटी, इन दोनों को बुलाया तो गया था, लेकिन इनको बाज़ाब्ता उस तरह से नोटिफिकेशन करके नहीं बुलाया गया था जिस तरह से और मुस्लिम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को बुलाया गया था. आसिम बिहारी ने एतराज़ किया कि आपने पसमानदा संगठनों को क्यों नहीं बुलाया है. तो उन्होंने कहा कि असल में हमारी तरफ से कोई, उनकी तरफ से कोई एप्लीकेशन वगैरह नहीं आया था. तो आसिम बिहारी ने कहा कि ठीक है, जमीयतुल उलमा है या जो नेशनलिस्ट पार्टी है, जो मुस्लिम लीग है, उनकी तरफ से जो एप्लीकेशन आया था वो हमें आप दिखा दीजिए. तो नवाब साहब थे, उनका नाम मुझे नहीं याद आ रहा है, तो उन्होंने आए बाय करने लगे और बहुत आसिम बिहारी ने जोर दिया. तो उसके बाद उन्होंने, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात बता रहा हूँ, मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप इसको सब लोग ध्यान से सुने, दर्शक भी सुने. तो उन्होंने कहा कि ठीक है, उन्होंने एक कमेटी बना दी कि जिनको वो रजील और कमीन कहते थे, ये बहुत ही अपमानित जनक शब्द है, उसी रजील से अर्जाल बना है, यानी नीच लोग, और अजलाफ बना है, जल्फ असभ्य लोग. लेकिन इन रजीलों और कमीनों को इस मुस्लिम ये मुस्लिम कॉन्फ्रेंस में शामिल करना है कि एक कमेटी बना दी गई और उस कमेटी में आसिम बिहारी ने बहुत ही आग्रह किया कि इसमें कम से कम एक पसमानदा को रखिए, लेकिन उसमें सारे सैयद अशराफ लोगों को रखा गया और उस कमेटी ने फैसला दिया कि नहीं, इस तरह के कॉन्फ्रेंस में इन लोअर कास्ट को बुलाना ठीक नहीं है, क्योंकि ये तो सतुआ प्याज बांध के आ धमकेंगे और जितने दिन कॉन्फ्रेंस चलेगा उसी दिन जमे रहेंगे और हमारे लोग बहुत नफीस होते हैं, संभ्रांत होते हैं, वो कभी आएंगे कभी नहीं आएंगे। लिहाजा ये होगा कि ये जो रजील कमीन लोग आएंगे ये अपनी बात मनवा लेंगे। तो ये खुलेआम भेदभाव था उस प्लेटफॉर्म पे जहां सारे मुसलमानों को इकट्ठा किया गया था। एक आखिरी बात, मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड इस वक्त बहुत हाईलाइटेड है। मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड में भी देशज मुसलमानों का या देशज पसमानदा की कोई भागीदारी नहीं, जिनकी संख्या 90% है। मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड में 150 से 200 मेंबर है और सारे उसमें से एक सैयद जो विदेशी मुसलमान वो बैठे हुए हैं और सारे मुसलमानों के प्रतिनिधित्व का दावा करते, जबकि उनको नैतिक अधिकार ही नहीं है। तो आज़ादी से पहले से लेके देश बंटवारे के बाद से इन्होंने, अशराफ लोगों ने अपना एक पाकिस्तान भी ले लिया, उसके बाद भारत में भी ये वही अपना पाकिस्तान चला रहे हैं मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड के नाम पे। अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी जामिया, जो भी अल्पसंख्यक मुसलमानों नाम से संस्थाएं हैं, उनको मैं खुलेआम कहता हूँ कि ये छोटे छोटे पाकिस्तान है, उसमें भी हमारी कोई भागीदारी नहीं। तो स्थिति बिल्कुल आपने सही कहा कि स्थिति हमारी आज भी बिल्कुल वैसे ही है। मैं बिल्कुल सहमत हूँ आपसे।
But how is it that this was never highlighted, Amna Begum Ansari? This has never been talked about. Muslims have always been electorally also been seen as one bloc. The narrative or the minorities discourse also looks at Muslims as one bloc. Elitism, हम सब जानते हैं, elitism, casteism हर जगह होता है, हर कम्युनिटी में होता है, बट इट्स नेवर स्पोकन अबाउट। ये इतना रैम्पेंट है और इतना डिस्पैरेट है कि रिप्रेजेंटेशन ही नहीं है। ऑल इंडिया मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड कहा जाता है एंड नाउ फयाज इज सेइंग कि उसमें all members are all Ashrafs or Sayyidis. There is no Pasmanda representation at all. 90% of the Muslim population of our country is not represented at all.
Yeah, I totally agree with Fayyaz ji, and this is it's not like this has changed now. If you talk about recent, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Yeah, if you talk about the recent a few incident like Babri Masjid, Babri Masjid committee. So we will see there also the same thing happened when a committee was formed. The majority of people are from the Ashraf community. When the case was getting fought into the court, so that was the Pasmanda. Sorry, there is so much disruption I can hear from.
We'll try and
Am I
sort that
audible?
out. You're getting a feedback, so we'll sort that out. We'll sort it out. Please go ahead. Try and manage it for 30 seconds. We'll sort it out.
Okay, so when the case was in the court, so the person who was fighting that case was from the Pasmanda community, but when government allotted the fund and the land, so entire committee was the form by the Ashraf community. And when even the Pasmanda Muslim went ahead and asked, at least take the one person who fought the case in the court, can you bring that person in the committee, and they refused it outright. So it's not like the situation has changed or something has changed drastically. We are still facing the same discrimination. Why this has been happening? Because whenever any space is there in a political landscape or in a social justice landscape anywhere, in the name of the Muslim, only Ashraf voices we have been hearing. And for somehow elite Hindu or even political parties of majority, they would always consider the Ashraf as the representative of the Muslim. And why this has been happening, I cannot give a proper answer for that. I think there should be a proper study. But how the other reason I believe is that majority of the Pasmanda Muslim were not well educated. This is our second generation where we were able to access education after the freedom of India. So when the second generation are getting education, they are being able to speak for themselves. So we are coming ahead and speaking for ourselves.
Zeenat ji, agree, disagree? Has it been that some have always driven the narrative while others have been forced to follow? And broad brushed, painted in the same hue?
Yes, Anand, I can't say that I'm an expert on this subject,
Ji.
but I think, the entire ethos of what we look at in Indian politics altogether is that it is always the powerful and the upper classes who have been able to dominate, whether they are among the Muslims or among the non-Muslims. And so therefore this also was an oppressed community, and therefore you see they had to get together. Although I must tell you that in Islam, it is never the wealth of a person. It is not the black over the white, or the white over the black, or the rich over the poor, but there's equality. But that sense of equality that that Islam spoke about does not exist. It is an ideal that one says, and it is obvious that when the lower class, the poorer classes, the more oppressed classes,
Pasmandas
represent, unfortunately falls into that category where the more powerful and the richer classes dominate. And if I may, I don't know whether this point fits in or not, but even in our entire system of governance, we find that there is a certain class even among the non-Muslims that rules, and like the Brahmins, for instance.
Correct.
And the rest are at the downtrodden class. I think this also became a parallel for this community.
This is the reality. Society corrupts. When certain philosophies propound, they all propound equality. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that varnas are supposed to be based, classes are supposed to be based on guna and karma. That is ability and action. Otherwise, everybody is born equal. Everybody is born as a jantu, and then it is your sanskar. It is a sanskar that makes you what you are. That means how you are brought up in society. But Ambar Zaidi, this controlling the narrative, beautifully done. Blame all casteism only on Hindus, whereas there is casteism, elitism across the board. And even among the OBCs there is casteism. Even among the Dalits there is casteism. Even so, that is also existing. Yes, Ambar Zaidi.
Absolutely, Anand. The casteism among the Muslim community has been very prevalent, and nobody has ever addressed the issue of Muslim community as discrimination. As Fayazi and Amina has very well spoken about the issues among the Pasmanda society of Muslim community. And thankfully now at least it is being addressed and identified, and now people are actually knowing about the issues among Muslim Pasmanda society. And I totally blame this, and if I would blame, that would be completely our political party, because mere politics, they have just used Muslim community as vote bank. They have never addressed and identified their issues, and they never thought of about their upliftment or education and so on. So now the issue of Muslim community, be it Pasmanda society, the issue of Muslim women and other discriminatory or primitive laws among Muslim society is being addressed, and we all are very happy, and this is a very auspicious day, and that's on this auspicious day of sacrifice. Let's sacrifice our egos and our prejudices within ourselves that we have for each other, and sacrifice those thoughts, and just bring to equality and respect for each other and love for everyone.
Fayaz, आप कुछ कह रहे थे, and then we'll get to the UCC aspect.
मैं इस्लाम के बारे में कह रहा था, एक बहुत ही भ्रम फैलाया जाता है कि इस्लाम में ऊंच नीच जात पात नस्लवाद नहीं है। ये भ्रम को दूर कर लेना चाहिए। इस वक्त जो इस्लाम है, मैं अल्लाह के रसूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम इस्लाम की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ। इस वक्त जो इस्लाम है उसमें लिखित रूप से नस्लवाद जातिवाद है, व्यवहारिक रूप से है, और इस बात का पूरा प्रयास किया गया है कि नस्लवाद जातिवाद इस्लामिक आस्था का महत्वपूर्ण अंग बना रहे। अब मैं आपको उदाहरण देता हूँ। मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड की एक ऑफिशियल पब्लिकेशन है मजमूए कवानीन इस्लामी, उसमें इन लोगों ने पर्सनल लॉ से डील करती हुई किताब, उसमें उन्होंने लिख रखा है कि किस जाति और किस नस्ल आपस में बराबर है, कौन किसकी शादी हो सकती है, नहीं हो सकती। तो ये एक भ्रम फैलाया जाता है कि इस्लाम में नस्लवाद जातिवाद नहीं है। दूसरा, अगर आपको हमारी बात को चेक करना है तो आप एक इस्तिफ्ता लिखिए। इस्तिफ्ता कहते हैं फतवा मांगने के लिए जो एप्लीकेशन लिखा जाता है, वो आप लिखिए सारे बड़े सेमिनरी, चाहे वो शिया हो, सुन्नी हो, देवबंदी हो, बरेलवी, जितने सेक्ट्स हैं इस्लाम के, सब में आप मदरसे में एक इस्तिफ्ता लिखिए, एक एप्लीकेशन लिखिए कि क्या एक सैयद लड़की की शादी एक मिरासी लड़के से हो सकती है। ये आपको लिख के दे देंगे कि दोनों में नस्ल का अंतर है, जात का अंतर है, ऊंच नीच का अंतर, इसलिए शादी नहीं हो सकती है। तो ये किसी को भ्रम में नहीं रहना चाहिए। इस्लाम में पूरी तरह से लिखित रूप से, व्यवहारिक रूप से, और इसका पूरा प्रयास है कि इस्लाम में नस्लवाद, जातिवाद बनी रहे। एक आखिरी बात कि जब भी मुसलमानों की बात होती है तो इस्लाम पे क्यों बहस होता है? देश संविधान से चलता है तो संविधान पे बहस होना चाहिए कि संविधान में क्या राइट्स है, क्या नहीं है, सोशल जस्टिस है कि नहीं। इस्लाम को हम हर जगह लेके आते। अगर इस्लाम जस्टिफाई करेगा क्या तभी हम उस पर मानेंगे? अगर इस्लाम में कोई चीज नहीं है तो क्या उसको हम नहीं मानेंगे? तो बहस संविधान पे होनी चाहिए, इस्लाम पे नहीं होनी चाहिए। ये मैं कहना चाहता था।
And on that, I thank you all for airing your views, providing perspectives. We'll allow the audience to get there and form their own opinions. I thank you all.
Singh Devji, namaste. First up, should I say congratulations?
Thank you so much.
Or should I say that you have settled and it's a compromise? How would you look at it?
I take whatever comes from the High Command, and for me, that's the final call.
What happened in the discussions? Could you share a little bit what was communicated and what has now been agreed upon?
It was a very congenial sort of a meeting where everybody was putting forward their point of view without any acrimony. We were also told that in some other meetings things were very much more hot, but Chhattisgarh was cool, calm and collected.
Well, that is thanks to you and Bhupesh Baghel ji, but Raman Singh ji has said कि चुनाव से 60 दिन पहले आपके हाथ में झुंझुना पकड़ाया गया है. How would you want to respond to
जो
that?
मिलकर वही सही. High Command ने जो अपने लिए लायक समझा, they have given that, and I am absolutely okay with whatever my High Command gives me.
Do you believe that you would advise Sachin Pilot also to settle for something like this in Rajasthan, for the larger interest of the party?
My advice to Sachin, if it's an advice not sought, I am imposing my views, so to say. But I have been in touch with Sachin off and on. We have been on similar perceptible boats too. We have exchanged opinions and views, and I'd advised him earlier too, and I'll only say as a person, not on any other basis, as just a person I am fond of, I like, and somebody who's younger to me in age. Be patient. You have the capacity. You have the capacity to lead. You have a base. You have things made. So what is lacking is waiting for the call of the High Command. When we bind ourselves willingly to a party structure, then accept the party structure and accept their wisdom in taking a call. They may err once in a while, it doesn't matter, but much greater wisdom lies there, and they will take a call. Eventually, they'll take a call, which I am sure will give him the opportunity to lead Rajasthan one day.
But Maharaj, मैं आपसे एक प्रश्न पूछूं तो वादा तो निभाना चाहिए. वादा खिलाफी नहीं हुई है, so hasn't trust been broken? So is it difficult to retain the trust once a promise has been broken?
I don't know about promises really, but there could be situations. There could be things. A lot of things happened just about that time. We saw Punjab. We saw some other situations come up. There were ugly scenes. The party had not yet won Karnataka. There are positions and situations which change from time to time. Today the party is in a different position. Punjab is behind us. Karnataka is on board. We are looking forward to Madhya Pradesh. We are having very good chances to come back to government in Chhattisgarh. All over the country, if you see, the non-BJP landscape seems to be widening. Bihar has come there, TMC is there, Odisha, whichever way you see, TRS, DMK. So lots of things. Even Kerala is not with the BJP. Maharashtra, they managed to take away. So their strongholds today are Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand. Himachal is not with them today. So when situations change, the decisions of the High Command will also change. Those things also all of us need to, I suppose, keep in mind and give that much leeway to the High Command to take calls from time to time. It will come. A person like Sachin, with the capacity, he is, very much there in what he says. He is vocal, he is articulate, he is intelligent. These combinations don't come about. He has a background, he has a base which he has maintained. He is not only his father's son, he has been able to take on the confidence of the people too. He led the Rajasthan PCC as the PCC president into the election at an even younger age, 4 years back. So he has it there. Just that little bit of patience which comes with maybe having a few more white hair. It'll be there, and he'll make it, I'm sure.
So a lot of situations and a lot of that you just talked about, Sachin Pilot, also mirror your own, sans the grey hair which you have more. But T.S. Singh Devji, just two more questions. I will not take much of your time. What do you think, in your wisdom, the Congress party should do? Should they go for revival or should they look at survival? Survival means aligning with all the other parties. A lot of them are offshoots of the erstwhile Congress. Revival is to go it alone in Lok Sabha 2024.
Congress has taken their choice earlier. When the Janata Party came in 77, Congress was going alone. It came back to power in 80 and it continued down the line. Then we had situations with Indira ji. Then we had Rajiv ji. We were more or less on our own. Then we had the situation with Rajiv ji. And since then, it has been parties coming together. The BJP with other parties has been coming together as a joint force since 1977, Janata Party times. The name changed, it became UPA. Congress then entered into the NDA stage, UPA stage, and today there are options to widen that base of being together. The name, I don't know what it will be. I am not on board there. There's going to be a UPA or a new name will be given for these 16, 17, 18 or whatever parties are able to come together. So today, if the other party is fighting on a platform which is not individual, there is absolutely no harm and no hesitation, as far as I can see, of yourself also not fighting on the similar platform. Fight with others together. The other person, they say the Congress has not having the capacity to fight on its own. So where are you having the capacity to fight on your own too? Let the BJP fight just by itself. Then say that the Congress is not fighting on its own.
Do you have a point of view on UCC and also on the Pasmanda aspect that has been picked up by the BJP, highlighted by the Prime Minister? And will these aspects have a bearing on Chhattisgarh?
Neither. I don't think Pasmanda has... people would be searching the Google for what Pasmanda is. Now even the villages have access to Google Devta. So Pasmanda is not a factor. It is an attempt by the BJP to again try and portray itself as some sort of an acceptable party. Having a core Hindu view and trying to portray sometimes an aspirational party, looking after the interest of the youth. Sometimes it is the strike across the Pakistan border. Sometimes it is some explosion that is taking place somewhere. Sometimes it is Hanumanji. Sometimes it is Kerala letters. Sometimes it is hijab. Sometimes it is Article 370. Sometimes it is doing away with Muslim reservation. But once they see that it is not paying off, they have no option but to try and say other things. Now, Ram Mandir is done with. Do we see BJP people saying Jai Shri Ram the way they were saying 30 years back, 20 years back? I don't hear anybody saying. So it is not Jai Shri Ram in their hearts, really. To that extent, they would have religious fervor. They would be religious people, but not those saying Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, as if it is coming from their mind and from their heart. It is something they have used and used successfully. From 2 votes, they have crossed 300, 2 seats in parliament, they have crossed 300. So you use that. So they have seen that using these sort of strategies is paying dividends for them. So now they are looking for something else. So it's Pasmanda. Now that 370 is done with, now it is UCC. So they have these cartridges in their arsenal, and they try and take them out one after the other in succeeding elections and try to bank upon them to get them through. I don't see them as genuine UCC people. I don't see them as general Jai Shri Ram people. You know, frankly, I don't mean to be offensive, but I don't see them as that, because they are not appearing on the ground to be that. We should be seeing chants of Jai Shri Ram ringing in our ears every day throughout the country. But we don't. We don't. Ramji has now been put into the temple. Now they look to Mathura. Now they look to Varanasi. Varanasi. They look to some other spot. So sooner or later, like the people of Karnataka realized, Hanumanji will not go on that side.
Singh Devji, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, and I thank you for stopping midway through your pravas to have this conversation with us. I wish you all the very, very best, and
thank you so very
much. In person very, very, very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Namaste. Joining us now are the makers or the force behind 72 Hoorain. अशोक पंडित, the co-producer, संजय पूरन सिंह, it's your movie. आप दोनों को नमस्ते और जय हिंद. संजय, एक बात बताइए, ये कैसे कंट्रोवर्सी खड़ी करती है? अशोक पंडित जी के तो आइडिया नहीं है.
नहीं सर, बिल्कुल भी ये हमारी तरफ से तो किसी का देखिए, सडनली जब आप ट्रेलर लॉन्च करने की तैयारी कर रहे हैं और आपको पता चलता है कि आपका थिएटर के अंदर ट्रेलर नहीं प्ले हो सकता बिकॉज आपको सर्टिफिकेशन नहीं मिला है, तो ये एक सेटबैक है किसी भी फिल्म मेकर के लिए. बिकॉज जब आप फिल्म बनाते हैं तो आप चाहते हैं कि बड़ी स्क्रीन के ऊपर लोग उसको देखें, जहाँ पर दूसरी फिल्म चल रही होती है उनके साथ में आपका ट्रेलर चलता है, और ये उसी से जो ऑडियंस है वो कन्वर्ट होती है. ज़्यादातर वही नंबर होता है जो थिएटर में आता है, और सडनली आपको पता चले, वो भी आपको कुछ घंटे पहले, ये ऑलरेडी अनाउंस हो चुका था कि हम 28 को आने वाले हैं. एक लंबे टाइम से जो है वो सर्टिफिकेशन के लिए अप्लाई किया हुआ है, एटलीस्ट 10 डेज और 9 डेज से, और एक दिन पहले आप ये बताते हैं कि आपको ये इस तरीके की मॉडिफिकेशन यही चाहिए. ये प्रोसेस जो है वो थोड़ा सा मुझे लगता है कि इसके ऊपर कहीं ना कहीं बात होनी चाहिए कि आप क्यों फिल्म मेकर्स को लास्ट मिनट के ऊपर इन चीज़ों पे लेके आते हैं. तो ये एक सेटबैक है जो हमें लगा, लेकिन फिर भी हमें, क्योंकि अब हमारी फिल्म 7 तारीख को रिलीज हो रही है तो ज़्यादा वक्त नहीं है, तो अल्टीमेटली हमको ट्रेलर तो डालना ही था, तो फिर ये बात डिसाइड की गई सभी के बीच में.
पर ये भी होता है ना प्रॉब्लम, ऐसा तो नहीं है, इज दैट द प्रॉब्लम अशोक जी, दैट समटाइम्स जो कहते हैं ना एडवर्टाइजमेंट जैसा दिखता है और जब फिर खाली जैसे उसके आता है, इट्स वेरी डिफरेंट. Is that what did you try to present the trailer in a different way compared to how it is actually seen in the movie, just to perhaps say, titillate the viewer?
Anand,
was there a problem there?
No, there is a contradiction which the CBFC has got into it, and they are answerable to this decision of theirs, because this is a film which has got national award. This is a film which has got an award in IFFI last year. Now, a film which has got a national award means that the content has been approved and liked by an entire jury of filmmakers, and by an organization which is a government's organization.
Yeah.
Now, if this trailer would have had any visual or any frame which is not there in the film, then your decision is right. Every frame of the film is a part of the trailer. There's nothing from outside, and you reject the trailer. तो जो shots या जो visuals हमारे trailer में हैं, वो वैसे के वैसे film में भी हैं. So on one side you give a national award, on the other side you reject the trailer. It has created a lot of confusion, not only in Sanjay and me and Gulab Singh for that matter. It has created a confusion in the entire industry, because we have got so many calls that what is this? Why have they rejected your censor certificate? So that's why we have appealed to Prasun Joshi, who's part of the industry, who knows everything, either he's not aware of this or even if he's aware of this, I think people should be pulled up for this decision because it's an insult to the national award.
कई बार ऐसा होता है ना, पूर्व पक्ष होता है, जैसे कि वो तर्कशास्त्र में कहते हैं कि सामने वाले के आर्गुमेंट को समझो। तो आपको सामने वाले का आर्गुमेंट समझ में आया? सीबीएफसी का कोई तर्क है वहां पर कि डू दे हैव एनी ग्राउंड्स व्हाई दे आर आस्किंग यू टू मेक दीस 4 कट्स?
सर मुझे देखिए, हमेशा जो सेंसर बोर्ड है उसके पास में अपनी कोई ना कोई वजह और जस्टिफिकेशन हमेशा होती है, और आई एम श्योर इसके अंदर होगा कि आपने बहुत प्रोवोकेटिंग लग रहे हैं या ये, लेकिन वो एसेंस कैसे खत्म हो सकता है जो फिल्म के अंदर है। अब आप 2 मिनट के ट्रेलर के अंदर कुछ चंद शॉट्स दिखाते हैं, हार्डली डायलॉग्स भी कुछ आते हैं, फिल्म के अंदर उनका जो कॉन्टेक्चुअल मीनिंग है वही इसके अंदर आने वाला है, क्योंकि पूरी डायलॉग्स ही उसके अंदर यूज हो रहे हैं। उसमें से एक पर्टिकुलर वर्ड को म्यूट कर दीजिए। आपका ये जो आप एक टेररिज्म के ऊपर बेस्ड फिल्म है, उसमें आपका एक डेड बॉडी का एक पैर है, आप उसको हटा दीजिए। तो टेररिज्म को आप कैसे दिखाएंगे अगर आपको बाकी शॉट्स हैं और उस दिखाने का एक जरिया होता है। चलिए, दूसरी चीज में जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात है, ये तरीका कहीं ना कहीं इसलिए भी गलत है कि आप एक ट्रेलर को बनाने के लिए, आप जब अपनी फिल्म के अंदर उसका टीजर या ट्रेलर आता है तो इसमें महीनों लगते हैं किसी भी फिल्म मेकर के लिए। इट्स अ क्रिएटिव प्रोसेस, और उसके अंदर जब इतना वक्त लगता है, आप उसका डिसीजन जब आपका ट्रेलर लॉन्च होने वाला है उससे कुछ टाइम पहले बताते हैं, 1 दिन पहले। ठीक से आपको 1 दिन भी नहीं मिलता, बिकॉज अगले दिन 11 बजे का आपका टाइम है, आप 1 दिन 24 घंटे पहले बोलते हैं या 16 घंटे पहले बताते हैं। आपको ये लगता है कि क्या वो मॉडिफिकेशन पॉसिबल है किसी के लिए? तो ये इतना लंबा टाइम ये चीजें बताने में क्यों लगता है, और आप क्यों लास्ट मिनट का ही इंतजार कर रहे होते हैं? जब आपकी फिल्म रिलीज है तो आप 15 दिन, 2 हफ्ते, 3 हफ्ते पहले ट्रेलर लेके आएंगे। तो देखिए, आप दूसरी बातों को भी समझिए कि क्या ये लगातार डिले करने की टैक्टिक्स सही है क्या उनकी तरफ से? बिकॉज आप सही समय ही नहीं दे रहे हैं किसी को। अगर आप ये चाहते हैं कि वाकई कोई इस तरीके के चेंजेस और मॉडिफिकेशन लेके आए, तो आपने उसके लिए समय कहाँ दिया किसी को? और मैं ये बात सभी की तरफ से कहने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, जिसके अंदर और भी प्रोड्यूसर्स हैं, और भी डायरेक्टर्स हैं, और भी फिल्म मेकर्स हैं जो ये चीज फेस करते हैं, और ये उतनी ही ज्यादा संजीदा बात है जिस पर गौर करने की जरूरत है कि आप 1 दिन पहले बताते हैं कि अभी आप ये चेंजेस कर लीजिए। क्या चेंजेस हो जाएंगे? आपको वक्त लगता है सोचने में, आज का रिप्लेसमेंट क्या करेंगे, आप इसको किस बेहतर तरीके से इस नैरेटिव को बोलेंगे। बिकॉज जब आप 2 मिनट का ट्रेलर बोल रहे होते हैं तो शॉर्ट्स के जरिए आप अपनी कहानी कह रहे होते हैं। आपके पास में बहुत कम, आप म्यूजिक और शॉर्ट्स के जरिए और साउंड के जरिए अपनी बात को कहने की कोशिश कर रहे होते हैं।
I'm just going to come back to you, अशोक जी, but अब तो आपने झंडे गाड़ दिए। You went ahead and released the trailer. Now, what is the solution?
ये बात जो है,
Anand, we couldn't release the trailer in the theater, which was our dream because theater is a theater. You can release the trailer anywhere outside, but not in the theater. That is the rule because we need a censor certificate to release the trailer in a theater. And we also wanted to release the trailer in the theater with other films. Normally, when we see trailers of other films, it makes a lot of impact. So, cinema goers, film goers who normally go to the theaters to watch and don't watch on digital mode, we have totally cut off that chunk of people because we didn't get the censor certificate for the trailer. But anyway, the kind of response we have got, even on digital, the way people are reacting, the people are responding to the trailer, it has been immense. It has been trending since yesterday, at number 2, and it's the most awaited film now because Sanjay has made a brilliant film backed by a very able producer called Gulab Singh. So I think people understand, but that is not the criteria whether the film is doing well or not. There has to be some checkpoints now, Anand, at government bodies. There has to be some dignity and respect shown towards filmmakers. Yeah, you can't one day before, as Sanjay said, say कि यार ये आपका ट्रेलर में ये काटो ये मतलब what kind of world are we living in, and ऐसा भी नहीं कि आपने फिल्म में बोला ये सीन काटने के लिए. So there is lot of confusion, And one thing which came into our minds, which I want to tell you, Anand, is that problem क्या होता है कि जो हमारे senior officers हैं, administrators जो हैं ऐसे सेंसर बोर्ड में और in this field of art, they are basically bureaucrats. They are IAS officers. Somebody from railway board is sitting on a chair deciding the fate of my trailer. So it's very sad that tomorrow if somebody from IT industry or somebody from this thing is asked to run a textile industry, it will not be, it's everybody has its own place and place. So the emotions, the creativity, the respectability towards a maker has to be there, and that will come only if the person belongs to your same art or same field for that matter. That the problem lies there only. You can't behave like a a dictator कि नहीं ये ट्रेलर नहीं रिजेक्ट कर दो इसको ये कर दो. अंडरस्टैंडिंग तो बहुत जरूरी है ना. आज हमारे साथ होगा, कल किसी और के साथ होगा, परसों किसी और के साथ होगा.
So have you spoken to or have you reached out to Prasan Joshi ji?
We did it yesterday through media only, but because we are so busy.
Is there any response?
No, not yet. Not yet. We have not got.
And the concerning CBSE officers, have they responded?
No.
Are they willing to rethink? No.
No. We have not get response, and then Anand, it's too late now because we have already released the trailer. So the matter, is ended because we are now busy with the release of the film. It's a 24-hour job. Sanjay is sitting in Chandigarh. I am in Mumbai, handling the fort here. He is in Chandigarh looking up the release.
That's another question. Did you ever think that the movie will see light of day on the big screens, or do you believe movies like Kerala Story and the recent shift in mood of the audiences plays a role in giving you the confidence, and there are people who are ready to release movies like this? Sanjay, आपको क्या लगता है?
सर ये एक चेंज आया है, बिकॉज हम ऑनेस्टली मैं इस तरीके के सब्जेक्ट्स को बोलूंगा कि ये जो बहुत संजीदा किस्म के सब्जेक्ट्स हैं, जो बहुत गंभीर विषयों के ऊपर पहले बात नहीं होती थी, बहुत हल्के के अंदर चीजें की जाती थी. ऐसा नहीं है कि टेररिज्म के ऊपर, जैसे जो हमारी फिल्म है 72 हूरें, ये पहली बार ऐसा हो रहा है, लेकिन बहुत सारी फिल्म ऑलरेडी बनी है टेररिज्म के ऊपर, लेकिन किसी ने इस गंभीरता से और इस पक्ष को उठाने की कोशिश नहीं की है. जब आप उस इशू को टैकल करते हैं तो पहले समझा जाता था कि ये नॉन वाइबल सब्जेक्ट्स हैं, कमर्शियल नहीं है, मेन स्ट्रीम ऑडियंस को पसंद नहीं है. लेकिन इन रिसेंट फिल्म की सक्सेस ने डेफिनेटली फिल्म मेकर्स के अंदर, फिल्म प्रोड्यूसर्स के अंदर ये हौसला जो है वो रख दिया है कि अगर आप, और स्पेशली फॉर द फिल्म मेकर्स, कि अगर आप ऑनेस्टली अपनी बात कहेंगे, सही इंटेंट से कहेंगे और सही बात कहेंगे, तो लोग उसको देखने के लिए तैयार हैं.
अशोक जी, संजय, आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद फॉर योर टाइम, एंड आई विश यू ऑल द बेस्ट, यू एंड द मूवी ऑल द वेरी वेरी बेस्ट.
has highlighted yesterday, and Canadian government needs to take some concrete action that is seen. Every time just defending that we are letting them have a democratic space, that would not solve the problem of Khalistani issue in Canada. This is what India has maintained.
I have Major General A.K. Sivaj, who is a defense expert, joining me on the phone line. Sir, a very good morning to you. As I asked my colleague as well, sir, what do you think, what diplomatic efforts should be at the place to, sort of maintain a mutual understanding between these two nations?
The point is, as far as Canada is concerned, they must realize it that if they want to have a good relation with India, then they cannot allow Khalistan activities to take place in Canada. Because today, Canada has become a hub center of a number of Khalistan activities and anti-India sentiments being, shown there. So India is very clear. That's what Dr. S. Jaishankar has told in no uncertain terms. In case you want a free trade agreement, you want to do a business with India, you can't allow anti-Indian sentiments to be risen there and our temples vandalized or in Khalistan activities going at rampage. So I suppose a strong message is being sent to Canada that you can't have a vote bank politics for your own good if you allow all these activities which are against the interests of India. We are not going to remain quiet, and it will impact our bilateral relation.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar slamming Canada. Now he sort of slammed Canada on their pro-Khalistan stance. They have been driven by vote bank politics. That is what External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said. He also added that their responses have been constrained by what they regard as vote bank compulsions. If there are activities in Canada that impinge our national security and integrity, then we will have to respond. It is something which is continuing conversation with Canada, not always satisfactory, but something on which we have been very clear. You can see that this has impacted our ties in many ways in the last few years. So a heavy word of criticism coming in from the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar.
How Canada has dealt with the Khalistani issue has been a long-standing concern, because very frankly they seem to be driven by vote bank politics, and their responses have all been, to the best of my understanding, actually constrained by what they regard as vote bank compulsions on them. We made it very clear, and I've done so sometimes even in public, which is that if there are activities which are permitted from Canada which impinge on our sovereignty, territorial integrity, on our security, then we will have to respond. So it is something which is I would say, a continuing conversation with Canada, not always a satisfactory conversation, but it is something on which we have been very, very clear. And you can see that in many ways over the last few years it has impacted our time.
I have CNN News 18 Siddhant Mishra with me on the phone line. Siddhant, could you please tell us all the specific concerns that External Affairs Minister raised during that speech that he gave about relationship with Canada? Also, why did he say that, the relationship between Canada and India has been affected in the last 2 years?
Well, this is for the second time, perhaps, that External Affairs Minister is speaking so openly and speaking perhaps his heart out when it comes to relations with Canada. Because what Canada has been doing, or perhaps has been involved in, is something shocking, and also the way they are protecting or perhaps endorsing the separatist group is also against the integrity and security of India, and that has been retweeted by External Affairs Minister. Now look, Justin Trudeau's government is in minority. He doesn't have enough number to be in power. So he has done a coalition with NDP. Now NDP is being headed by Jagmeet Singh, who is a Khalistani sympathizer, separatist sympathizer. And because of this coalition politics compulsion, Justin Trudeau and his government is unable to take strict or perhaps strong action against these groups, even if they are violating laws, even if they are perhaps protesting in a violent manner outside Indian Foreign Office. Indian High Commissioner's dinner had to be cancelled in the month of March because of the protests of the Khalistanis. In fact, they had beaten up some Indians badly outside the venue, and that venue was booked by Indian community. So, case after case, incident after incident, there has been no response from the authorities in Canada, perhaps with regard to arresting these perpetrators or putting them behind the bars or taking action against them so that their morale breaks down. Nothing has been done. Last time around, when former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's tableau, that particular killing movement tableau was depicted in one of the Khalistani rallies, at that point in time, there was a condemnation which only...
Joining us now is Jay Sai Deepak, lawyer, and let me ask you on the Chidambaram temple, where do you stand? Because this has been an issue for a while with this temple. It's done the rounds of the Supreme Court. There's a Supreme Court judgment that protects the rights of the Dikshitas. But it's back in focus this time again, and it's the HRNC department, the state, that has now taken up the cudgel, saying there is gross mismanagement. How do you read the situation, sir?
So, if there is a textbook instance of what is wrong with state control of Hindu religious institutions, despite a clear verdict from the Supreme Court, the highest constitutional court of the land, in the context of a denominational institution that enjoys rights under Article 26, which is perhaps the strongest of rights that a religious institution can get under the Constitution, this is that example. Okay? What can a politically motivated, an anti-Hindu, anti-Brahmin government do, despite the verdict of the Supreme Court? If there is a clear-cut example that people want to look at, here's the case study with the DMK in power in the Tamil Nadu state. So let me explain this. This fight started way back in the in the pre-constitution period, okay, with Shirur Mutt from South Canada, of what is known as Karnataka today, and Chidambaram Temple, jointly challenging the 1927 HRC legislation of the then Madras Presidency, okay, because notifications were issued for takeover of these institutions, okay, and this was done in so this was with respect to the 1927 notification. Subsequently, in 1950, our constitution comes into force. By 1951, a new legislation has come about, okay, which is the previous HRC legislation prior to the one which is currently in force, which came into existence in 1959, okay. That legislation is challenged before the Supreme Court, and in that particular judgment, which is known as the famous Shirur Mutt judgment of the Supreme Court, the court categorically holds what are the metes and bounds and circumstances in which the state can step into the picture, but never to take over any institution. You can just take it over for very limited purposes to set the house in order and get out of the picture, okay. That is when the saga began for this particular temple. But then comes the 1959 Act, which reproduces in sum and substance the very same provisions which were struck down by the Supreme Court in 1951. And under that legislation, executive officers are appointed one way or the other without any reason. And in most instances, the Tamil Nadu government, regardless of who has been in power, has never given clear reasons as to why a particular temple needs to be taken over, which is among the first reasons required, or one of the first requirements under administrative law. So for instance, if it is a non-state private property and the state wants to step into that particular picture, it has to say, I am doing so under this power. I am doing so because there is a specific circumstance that warrants it. I want to do so to achieve a particular end, and I will finish this in a certain time period. None of these things have ever been satisfied by the Tamil Nadu HRC government, okay? All this litigation ultimately comes to a head. And on 6th of January 2014, in the judgment known as Subramania Swamy versus so-and-so, the Supreme Court comes out with a very clear verdict saying, this is a denominational institution. You cannot supersede or take over control in the name of setting the house in order. And this is what you've been doing. So please vacate the picture, get out of the picture. This happens in 2014. Please note, one of the things that the Supreme Court notes in the judgment is, you were supposed to come out with specific rules since 1959 to show what are the circumstances in which executive officers can be appointed. Can you guess when the rules actually were notified? November 2015, after the Supreme Court's verdict of 2014. Today you're in 2023, and those who've been following what's been happening with the Chidambaram temple over the last 7 years will tell you, state governments have tried to, if I would say, extract revenge from this temple for having succeeded in the Supreme Court. And therefore, repeated attacks have been made one way or the other, either mischievously invoking the SC/ST Act, or suddenly saying that there's a child marriage that has apparently happened in the family of a priest of that particular temple, and therefore that somehow gives the justification for the state government to step into the picture. Please tell me, if something happens in the priest's family, what right does it give the state with respect to the temple? Assuming that this has even happened. So these are the kind of things that have happened. The latest instance is a clear continuum of this particular motivated action. All that has happened is this. There is a particular platform in the temple. And the Podu Dikshitars, for those people who don't understand who are Podu Dikshitars, these are the traditional archakas or priests of that particular temple who have been given power. They have said for these 4 days, when the crowds are unmanageable and there is a particular festival going on, we do not want people to step on this particular platform regardless of their caste, because it makes it difficult for us to manage crowds. This was the legitimate, simple intention behind that instruction. No particular caste was singled out, and no particular caste was given a free pass or an exemption from this rule. Now apparently caste is in the picture, social justice is in the picture, SC/ST Act is in the picture, all sorts of things are in the picture, and in full public glare, the police steps into the temple. In which religious institution of any other community can the police dare to step in full public glare with the media watching? So according to me, this is proof of the fundamentally anti-Hindu nature of HRC legislations across the country.
So what's the break? How do we break this, or what is the solution to this? Because you're the second person after Professor Gurumurthy to say it's not just anti-Hindu, it's also anti-Brahmin.
Correct.
His point was that this Chidambaram temple is also being targeted because it's run by Dikshitars.
Correct.
And it still remains the last bastion of a Brahminical institution managed on its own in Tamil Nadu.
Correct. See, the thing is, unfortunately, there is a history of anti-Brahminism thanks to Dravidianism, which itself, according to me, is foisted, supported, nourished and watered by external actors. And that's been the history right from the beginning. It was propped up as a counter to what was seen as Brahminical Congress by the then Madras government. Okay. And there are instances where the leaders of the so-called movement, if at all it can be called one with any degree of conscience, went to London asking the British government to stay back because they did not want independence. They wanted to be stooges of the British. And they are the ones who are accusing everybody else of being stooges of the British today, unfortunately. So one, there is a very clear history. Thanks to that movement, there was a massive exodus of the Brahmin population from Tamil Nadu. While most people speak of the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits, because that's more bloody, or rather it's bloodier, it's visceral and it's clear, people don't speak of the exodus, the forced exodus of Tamil Brahmins from Tamil Nadu thanks to this movement. The fact of the matter is, the common people of Tamil Nadu are not anti-Brahmin. And you can see this in most hinterland, let's say, districts or in the interior parts of Tamil Nadu. It is in political spaces that this anti-Brahminism rears its ugly head. And allow me to say this, and I'm a very clear believer of this, that anti-Brahminism is perhaps a precursor to anti-Hinduism, not perhaps, surely a precursor to anti-Hinduism. That's been the history of it. Because they want to strike at the core of the Vedic religion, and therefore Brahmins and Brahminism is what they're after. So that's one. Two, what does this mean? You're looking at a population that's less than 2% or 2.5%. That's the definition of a minority. Some other groups with 30%, 27% get away with tags of minority. These are actually the true minorities. Where do you find the Tamil Brahmin population today? Pune, Chembur, Bangalore, Mysore, Aurangabad. These are the parts of the country where they fled. Hyderabad and other places. Okay, this is what happened. Now, coupled with that, when you increase the reservation to 69% above the constitutional limit to 50%, what are you effectively telling people? Get out of the place. That's what they did. Okay. Now, when this community is targeted, who is going to stand up for them? Fortunately, I would say in the last few years, one name has certainly surfaced, which despite not being a Brahmin, understands the realities of what is happening and has started speaking in favor of the community and has started speaking against the anti-Brahmin slant of Dravidianism. That's Annamalai. Having said that, let me also say this. Annamalai's position may not necessarily be the entire position of the BJP across the board. Because the fact of the matter is, the BJP said in Karnataka that it would relinquish control over temples. And this was made as a public statement and they backed out from it. Okay. Then in Uttarakhand, they took control of temples, close to 51 temples. They would not have given it up because the Uttarakhand High Court actually gave them a seal of approval subsequently. This was challenged in the Supreme Court. Before the Supreme Court could actually rule on this particular matter, fortunately, Uttarakhand elections came about. And because 20% of the population of Uttarakhand, or at least a significant population, is a Brahmin population, they said, I'm sorry, this is not going to happen. Then they gave up control. So it's a question of muscle at the end of the day, political muscle and electoral muscle. Constitutionalism in this country rarely works in favor of those communities who don't have political or electoral muscle. That's the fact of the matter, whether it comes to reservations or any other issue. Brahmins from Tamil Nadu are a micro-minority. Most of them have gone to California. Now caste has come back to revisit them in California in a very different way, thanks to Californian resolutions, SB 403 and whatnot. 403. Right? So the more you try to run away from a problem, it grows in size. It's time we realize that, and we stopped, turned around and gave it the fight that it calls for.
Now, my final question on this one, because and how does this matter proceed? Because there is only a legal solution to it. Politically, there is no solution right now. The legal solution has to be in the top court of the country, because the Supreme Court passed the ruling in 2014, and what is happening is in gross violation, as you said, of the court orders. So, who takes this story forward to the Supreme Court?
So are you
willing to represent it?
Of course, and I'm certainly in communication with the people who represent their interests on the ground. I will certainly bat for this community no matter what, no matter how politically incorrect it gets. I have embraced all sorts of labels and certificates that have come my way, so I have no problems whatsoever. I'm past caring for any of these. I don't give up on the political aspect for one or two reasons. You know this, Anand, that over the last 5 to 6 years, temple control and relinquishment of state control over temples has gained traction like never before. So this is no more an issue with respect to Tamil Nadu. This is an issue that applies across the board, regardless of who's in power. I don't think any party in this country can actually say confidently that it has done justice to Hindus when it comes to this particular issue. I'm being very clear. On this issue, no party is a different party. There is no party with a difference on the subject. Okay. Now, two, there is a lot more chatter on social media. There is a lot more chatter on the ground, because you see, Hindus in Andhra Pradesh know that the very same fate awaits them if they keep quiet, thanks to the rapid Christianization of that particular state. And if the statement made by one particular minister of Andhra Pradesh were to be gone by, according to him, 25% of the state is converted to Christianity, right? So with all that, I don't think Tamil Nadu is about Tamil Nadu, it is about the country, okay? And considering it's a state with close to 40,000 temples and one of the last standing bastions of Hindu civilization in every possible way, physical, spiritual and whatnot, I think that is the battleground. And I'm not someone who's going to go down without a fight. I'm not going to let Tamil Nadu go the Kerala way under any circumstances. This is something that needs resistance. It will be given political resistance, it will be given ground resistance, and it will also be given legal resistance, constitutional resistance. See, DMK constantly says we'll take over. What are you going to take it over for? Since 2014, you have not even filed a review petition before the Supreme Court explaining what is your grievance with the Supreme Court's verdict. As long as that verdict stands, you dare not step into the picture creating any kind of mischievous reasons. This is a mischievous reason.
But the law and order is with the state. Running of the temples is a state issue, and the state right now is in the control of those who you believe are wanting to take control of the temple. So, and the top court has not taken any suo motu cognizance yet. Although many would say that it jumps to take notice on other issues, but in this issue it has not.
So let me say this. Those who tried to play with the Sabarimala temple were scared of the political consequences, and they were forced to change their position in court. Okay? And this is hardcore left, CPIM. Okay? And there's a saying in Tamil, which is, if you touch Shiva's property, it will lead to destruction of your lineage. That is our belief as Saivites. And I'm a proud Saivite. So I dare you to touch this property again, and let's see if the law of karma doesn't set itself in action.
We'll also wait and watch how it unfolds, and whether the wrath of Shiva unfolds or the rule of law unfolds. Either ways, it has to be for the benefit of all, because the Constitution provides equality for everyone and the same right to protect and practice their culture under Article 29 that others talk about.
If the rule of law runs counter to Shiva's wish and also his own interest, it is not rule of law, it is injustice and adharma.
Well said, Jesai Deepak. Thank you very, very much for your time. Great conversation as always. Thank you.
Regardless of charges thrown at the Modi government, at the center, there's been no scam. And it's a complete contrast to the UPA time. Don't you think if this becomes the 2024 plank, that is trouble for TMC?
Article 29 is intended to protect the interests of minority groups. It provides any section of the citizens residing in India having distinct culture, language or script the right to conserve their culture, language and script.
America is willing to make the same investment in India over the next 10, 20, 30 years, like it did with China. And as President Biden said, America's future is intertwined with India's future, certainly economically speaking.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Anusha Soni. Ever since the idea of Uniform Civil Code has been mooted by the Prime Minister, at a rally in Bhopal, a storm of sorts has unfolded.
You remember yesterday there was a meeting by the All India Muslim Personal Law Board that called for an emergency meeting and said that this is not something that they're going to accept. There are various opposition parties and in fact the former allies of the BJP, like the Akalis, who have opposed the idea of a uniform civil code. The utopian idea of a political consensus is being spoken by various political parties. History tells us that ever since the idea of a UCC was introduced in the Constituent Assembly, the issue has been a polarizing one. But the history also tells us that great reformers and leaders like Dr. Ambedkar and India's first Prime Minister and Congress leader Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was staunchly behind the idea of a uniform civil code. In fact, various right-wing organizations that time had opposed this idea. Cut to the politics of today. Some parties have openly supported the idea of a UCC, highlighting that it's the mandate of the Constitution. There are others who are fence-sitters, including the Congress party. While each political party has the right to cater to its vote bank or the interest groups, there cannot be an absolute support to the politics of vote bank. Reforms are often held hostage to influential groups and influential interests. But it's job of the elected representatives to steer the nation in the right direction. Is the politics of vote bank withholding a much-needed reform of personal laws? Our focus on brass tacks tonight.
संविधान में भी आप ऐसे देखेंगे तो आर्टिकल 44 इसका समर्थन करती है, तो सैद्धांतिक रूप से हम इसका समर्थन करते हैं।
Party is yet to take a formal position. All I'm doing is quoting the views expressed by Jawaharlal Nehru.
ओवैसी जैसी सोच रखने वाले लोग हैं, उलेमा हैं, उनको दिक्कत होने लगती है। उनके लिए देश सर्वोपरि नहीं है, इसलिए जनता को भ्रमित करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। ऐसे ही ट्रिपल तलाक पर भ्रमित करने की कोशिश की थी।
Well, before we go to our guest, joining me first on the broadcast is the Muslim scholar Maulana Khalid Firangi Mehli. He is joining us on the show. Maulana साहब बहुत-बहुत शुक्रिया हमसे बात करने के लिए। मेरा पहला सवाल आपसे, प्रधानमंत्री ने एक साफ-साफ बयान दिया है। भोपाल में एक रैली के दौरान, एक पब्लिक इवेंट के दौरान उन्होंने कहा कि देश के पास एक यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड होना चाहिए। एक देश में दो किस्म के विधान नहीं चल सकते। आपकी राय और आपका मत?
देखिए, बुनियादी बात तो ये है कि ये गलत फहमी है अवाम में कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड का ताल्लुक सिर्फ मुसलमानों से है। जितनी भी रिलीजियस कम्युनिटीज़ हैं, सबके अपने पर्सनल लॉज हैं और सब डे टू डे लाइफ में उसी को फॉलो करते हैं। उसी तरीके से मुसलमानों का भी अपना मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ है, उसको फॉलो करते हैं। और आप सब हमसे बेहतर जानती हैं कि मुल्क के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने रिलीजियस फ्रीडम एज अ फंडामेंटल राइट गारंटी की है हर सिटीज़न को। तो फंडामेंटल राइट जो है, ज़ाहिर सी बात है, वो आपसे या हमसे किसी कानून के ज़रिए से छीना नहीं जा सकता है। और पर्सनल लॉज जो हैं वो वेरी मच पार्ट ऑफ आवर रिलीजन हैं, जो कि अपने रिलीजियस टेक्स्ट बुक से साबित हैं। इस वजह से हम लोगों का मानना है कि किसी भी किस्म का यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड अपने मुल्क में प्रैक्टिकली इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हो सकता है।
आपने संविधान और संविधान के अधिकारों की बात की। संविधान में आर्टिकल 14 भी है जो एक बराबरी का अधिकार देता है। एक सवाल ये भी आता है कि मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ में ऐसे बहुत सारे पक्ष हैं जो कहीं ना कहीं औरतों के खिलाफ भेदभाव करते हैं, जैसे कि पॉलीगमी का एक इशू है, बहुविवाह का एक इशू है जो बार बार उठाया जाता है। ऐसा भी कहा जाता है कि शरीयत में अगर किसी लड़की की उम्र 18 साल से कम की है, एंड इफ द वुमन अटेन्स प्यूबर्टी, इफ द गर्ल अटेन्स प्यूबर्टी, उसकी शादी करना जो है वो जायज़ है। क्या ये सारे जो ट्रबलसम एस्पेक्ट्स हैं मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ के, कहीं ना कहीं उनको ठीक करने की कोशिश, कानूनन ठीक करने की कोशिश, ये क्यों नहीं करनी चाहिए हमें यूसीसी के तहत?
आप ये देखें कि किस मुस्लिम बोर्ड ने या किसी भी मुस्लिम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने या किसी भी मुस्लिम लीडर ने इस बात की मुखालफत की है कि शादी का एज 18 इयर्स ना हो। 18 ईयर्स शादी की एज है, वो तमाम हिंदुस्तानी मानते हैं। एज एन इंडियन सिटीज़न हम लोग भी उसको फॉलो करते हैं। और जहाँ तक इसका ताल्लुक़ है कि औरतों को 4 शादियों का, आप ख़ुद हमें ईमानदारी से बता दीजिए कि एक भी कोई मुसलमान आपका जानने वाला हो जिसने कि इस मुल्क में 4 शादियाँ की हुई। 4 शादियाँ तो बड़ी बात है, 1 या 2 शादी करना मुहाल। और इस्लामी शरीयत में 1 से ज़्यादा शादी करने में इतने इफ्स एंड बट्स हैं कि वो प्रैक्टिकली पॉसिबल आम इंसान के लिए नहीं है कि शरई तौर पर पे वो दूसरी शादी कर सके।
एक सवाल है जो बार बार उठाया जाता है, मेरा अंतिम प्रश्न आपसे, कि अगर संविधान और आपके निजी मजहब में किसी तरीके का टकराव हो, किसी तरीके के विरोधाभास हो, तो किसी भी इंसान को, किसी भी भारतीय नागरिक को किस चीज को चुनना चाहिए, अपने संविधान को या आपके जो इंडिविजुअल पर्सनल रिलीजियस बिलीफ्स हैं उनको?
देखिए, हमारा मजहब हमें इस बात की तालीम देता है कि आप जिस मुल्क में रहते हैं आपको उस मुल्क के कानून को भी फॉलो करना है। तो लिहाजा हमारे ही संविधान ने, अपने मुल्क के संविधान ने हमें और आप दोनों को यह हक दिया है कि हम अपने मज़हब पर पूरी तरीके से अमल करें। इस वजह से ये कहना कि संविधान को फॉलो करें या मज़हब को फॉलो करें, संविधान ने हमें कहा है कि यू आर कंप्लीटली फ्री टू प्रोफेस एंड प्रैक्टिस रिलीजन ऑफ योर चॉइस।
मौलाना साहब, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमसे बात करने के लिए, और आपने अपनी राय हमारे सामने रखी। कहीं ना कहीं सीधे सीधे आप बोल रहे हैं कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड का आइडिया, दैट्स नॉट द प्लॉजिबल आइडिया फॉर द कंट्री एट दिस पॉइंट इन टाइम। Well, that's not what the government thinks. It has been one of the moot issue that the government has been talking about. It's part of the core agenda of the BJP, and in fact has been a part of their manifesto as well, that UCC and the implementation of it is a constitutional mandate that should be made into a reality. Once again, I reiterate the question that I earlier posted here on Brass Tags, that is the politics of vote bank withholding the much needed reform of personal law? That's the key question we ask, and taking this question to all our guests who are joining us on the broadcast. We have Sanju Verma, who's the national spokesperson of the BJP. Saira Shah Halim, who's an activist, is also joining us on the broadcast. Zakia Soman and Flavia Agnes, both women who have worked actively in the field of women's rights, are joining us on the show. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us on the broadcast. Sanju ji, I'll come to you first. The politics of vote bank has held hostage to the reform specifically of Muslim personal law, and I believe of all personal laws, if you go back to the history of the Hindu Code Bill, at different points, that same history, it's unfolding in front of our eyes. The position that has been taken by various opposition parties, including the Congress party, which has refused to take a position at this point in time, how do you see that move? And more importantly, the second limb of my question, it's a very emphatic and a decisive mandate that the government, that the Modi government has. And if UCC, despite these political problems, can become a reality, it is under the present term of the Modi government.
Anusha, I was listening into your interview with the Maulana, and first I have to say your Hindi quite impressed me. Coming to the more serious bit, I will, before I answer your questions, I think what I will read out now sort of encapsulates the core of this entire UCC debate. And I go back to 1985, when the current Chief Justice Chandrachud's father, Y.V. Chandrachud, was the CJI. And while calling for the need for a common civil code, a uniform civil code, he said that a uniform civil code will help the cause of national integration by removing disparate loyalties to law which have conflicting ideologies. Then he said it is a matter of regret that Article 44 has remained a dead letter. It should have been law long back. And Article 44, as we all know, stipulates that a uniform civil code shall be implemented throughout the territory of India, and the state shall endeavor to do so.
Yeah.
The other important judgment, before I come to the nub of your query, was the Sarla Mudgal versus the Union of India case in 1995, when the Supreme Court judge, Justice Kuldeep Singh, he actually said that it is time to bring out Article 44 out of the cold storage. It is unfortunate that Article 44 has been consigned to the dustbin of history. Uniform civil code is a must.
Yeah.
Imagine these were respected judges who spoke way back about the need for a uniform civil code in 1985 and 1995, but you and me are still debating about it. I just have this to say, that the government has said that anyone, not only the stakeholders, but anyone, any citizen, bona fide citizen of India can put forth his or her viewpoints to the Law Commission. The last date for doing so is 13th of July.
Okay.
So this allegation that the Modi government is not having a dialogue or a discussion and is trying to bulldoze its viewpoint, I think that's a whole lot of hogwash. And last but not the least, I will just say this. You know, before coming on your show, I did a bit of groundwork, Anusha, and I was stunned. Only for these 3 points, besides a whole host of other points, uniform civil code is a must. I found out that adultery is a ground for divorce among Hindus, Christians and Parsis, but not for Muslims. Impotency is a ground of divorce for Hindus and Muslims, but not among Christians and Parsis.
Yes.
Similarly, underage marriage is a ground for divorce for Hindus, but not for Christians, Parsis and Muslims. I mean, look at the irony of this. I just say this, you know, I will not even say, oh, since we have one criminal law called the Indian Penal Code, why can't we have one uniform civil code? My point is this. Are Muslims who are the one community, and I don't talk of progressive Muslims, because for instance, Zakia Suman, I've been on debates with her in the last couple of days. She's a highly progressive voice. But there are regressive Muslims who say that UCC aayega to Musliman barbad ho jayenge.
In fact there have been voices which have said that this is imposition of some kind of a Hindu law that's going to come, and I think that's fear mongering. That's not valid.